Yo guys, it's slyroh. You already know that today I'm here to recap week 30 of my 2025 video game backlog journey. Link in the description if you need the full context and explanation to this video series and the games on the list. I am here for week 30, like I said. It has been a long week, but as always, I'm going to go ahead and format this the classic way as usual. I'm going to recap what happened in the previous week. I will then dive deeper into each of the games that I played, and then I will preview the upcoming week. And let's just say this past week has been interesting. So, in terms of how things affect the backlog, I had some life events happen. So my boyfriend moved in with me, which is fun, all well and good. But the moving process is, not as fun, and can be time consuming, and more importantly, energy consuming. That was also combined with the fact that I was transitioning back to work after going on like a vacation. And let's just say that my body did not adjust very well. I came home a couple of days with very, very little energy, not even the energy to play some games. I did what I could. I did make some progress in some of the games. Not as much as I would have liked, but I really just had to power through it. Over the last day or so, it's starting to get back to normal, where I have the normal amount of like energy when I get home, and I think I will be able to channel that into more gameplay hours. But yeah, it has been a pretty long week, not necessarily in a bad way, but when it comes to the backlog, I haven't been able to put as many hours into the games as I would have liked. So on that note, let's go ahead and talk about what I did play. Which is going to continue to include the games that are still not finished, like Dante's Inferno. This game says 10 hours, and I think I'm like 3 to 4 hours of playtime in, but somehow it just keeps sticking around. I thought I'd be able to just like knock it out real quick. It's not being knocked out real quick. It is what it is. Neo is still being played. That one is not something that I expected to be knocked out real quick, and so that is going to continue to do that. And then Final Fate's Conquest is a game that I'm still putting some time into. I am... I believe at like chapter 19. I think I'm in the middle of chapter 19, so it'll only be like 6 chapters left, outside of any paralogs or extra battles or whatnot. So I'm getting there. And new games. I still have my playthrough update, everything going on. Not as many uploads this week, not as much time to record this week, for similar reasons as gaming to the backlog. I don't know if the hours played is accurate or not. Lost Records Bloom and Rage, I did promised to play, and I did play a little bit more just to see if it's something that I was going to drop or continue playing, and I have decided to continue playing it. It still has just enough that I'm interested to see more, so I am going to continue playing it. Again, I don't know if the hours played is accurate or not, but it's probably in that range, so it's fine. Then in terms of new games, I know like I'm already talking about like stretching hours to try and put into here, but I did talk about some new games that came out. So I'm going to talk about the ones that I did start playing. So the first one I started playing was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4, which is a sort of remake thing that came out, I think a couple weeks ago. So there it is. I started playing that. Nope, that looks awful. The formatting on that is terrible. Let's try that. But yeah, so that happened. That was something that I've been looking forward to because I really like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2, and as far as I know, everything about it is like, the same in terms of the like, I don't know if it's the same studio, but it feels very similar gameplay. So yeah, that's something I don't even know what I'm gonna put for like hours played. I'll just put like 1 for now, because I don't really know. I'll put 1 for the next game that I'm gonna put as well, which is Shadow Labyrinth. That is a Metroidvania style 2D platformer, whatever you want to call it, that has some ties to like Pac-Man. I thought it was pretty interesting, so I did start playing that, and I started playing that on the PlayStation. So I have all those happening right now on top of the fact of the backlog games. A game that I did bring up that I think I've decided I'm not going to play right now is Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. That is a Game Pass game. It is a Souls-like game. It is an action game, and I am hearing playtimes hovering around like 35 plus hours, and I just can't. I don't have any real excuses to play that over the new games that I'm playing now, as well as some of the new games that I passed over that I would like to go back and play before the end of the year, such as Tales of Iron 2. So for that reason, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers is not really going to get a lot of time put into it. I expect both of these games to not really take that much time. all things considered. So we're good on that front. And then obviously I did not start any new backlog games because I don't really want to start any new games when I have so many things that I'm juggling as it is. So that is sort of what this past week has looked like. It's been a little crazy. I'm seeing all these games that are still not played, and I'm very, very worried that I'm not going to be able to finish the backlog. I really need to kick it into high gear and really just, I don't know, try harder, I guess. So yeah, that's that. But I am spreading, my hours around. I was able to do a little bit of everything this week, and maybe if I channel that into focusing more, or maybe not, maybe it doesn't matter. If I'm putting a bunch of hours into multiple games, it'll probably work itself out eventually. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and let's transition to the next part of the video, where I will dive deeper into each of the games that I played, talk a little bit about them, where I'm at, and all that good stuff. So this week I'm actually going to start with the backlog games because none of them are new, so I likely won't have as much to say. That's actually a lie. There's a couple of points that need to be made about some of these games. So I'm going to start with Dante's Inferno, which I have the least to say about. Dante's Inferno is a fun action game. There are still some combat sections that are probably a little bit more lengthy than they need to be. Some of the enemies just feel like they have a lot of health for the sake of having a lot of health. Not necessarily one single enemy, but it'll be hordes and hordes of enemies that you just have to keep, fighting. Some of the checkpoints aren't as good. There was a combat encounter that I finished, and then I died during a platforming section trying to get out of that to the next section, and then I had to do the whole combat over again, and that happened multiple times. So that happens a lot. There's a little bit of jank to the game. It's, of its time, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think if it was sort of reimagined with sort of a modern gameplay sensibilities, I think that I would probably be further along, if that makes any sense. If there was better checkpoints, better, if it was a little bit more fluid. But it is fun. I like what it is, and I do hope to put some some more time into it, enough to potentially beat it, but we'll see. That's all I have to say about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Nioh. Nioh, I don't have a ton to talk about. The last time that we talked about Nioh, I really was enjoying it. I am still enjoying it. I am a little nervous. So I reached the end, or what? I don't know. Maybe it's not the end. But I reached what I think is the second main boss of the game, which apparently is a pretty big obstacle to get through for a lot of players. I'm a little worried that I'm going to run into a lot of obstacles that I'm not going to be able to get over very easily. So I'm worried about how long Nioh is going to take me to beat. But I guess I'm thankful that I didn't also commit myself to playing Nioh 2 by the end of the year, because that probably would not happen. I think Nioh 1 is going to take me long enough. I am still having a fun time. I am enjoying the gameplay, and I am enjoying that there are bosses that are giving me a run for my money, but hopefully I can get through it. I'm a little worried. It's one of those games that I'm worried that I'm playing the game wrong and I'm missing mechanics or something. I think I'm playing as good as I can. I don't really know, and I'm still having fun, but I just hope that I don't reach a point where the difficulty outweighs the fun factor. So far the fun factor is outweighing everything else, and so for that reason I will continue to be playing Nioh. But I think I was playing a little bit last night. I was just fighting the boss over and over, and I wasn't winning, so I had to set the game down. And when that happens, I'm not making a lot of actual progress in the game, which for a backlog journey could make the game take longer to complete. So there is that, but I am still having fun. It is still a good time. I'm trying to get levels where I can, and just I'm not really optimizing everything, but I feel like I'm using enough tools at my disposal and just hoping for the best. But we'll see how that goes. And then the final backlog game to talk about today is Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, which I have been putting more time into. It is a pretty easy game to pick up and play, just because of the 3DS. It's easy to just go to play a little bit while something's on the TV or whatever. It's easy. It's a good multitask game, if I want it to be. And I am slowly coming to the conclusion that maybe I don't like Fire Emblem Fates all that much. And that goes for Birthright as well as Conquest, because there's some things that is happening in Conquest that I remember happening in Birthright, and I feel like I made excuses for it. But when I really think about it, it's just not, I don't know, not great. And like one of those things is the fact that I feel very restricted in my unit usage, not in the amount of units that you can use, but the ones that are like actually worth using. For example, when there's a strong enemy or there are multiple enemies that are going to be coming towards you and you need a unit that can sponge that damage. In Birthright, it was basically like send Ryoma at everything. In Conquest, it's send Xander at everything. That's just kind of how it is, and you sort of build around that, and I don't really see any other way to play the game. I feel very restricted in the sort of like team like spread that I can have. Like if I wanted to try and play like with completely different units with completely different classes, I just don't know how well it would go. There are just a few units that I feel like you are essentially forced to use, and for me, that's not the thing that I love the most about Fire Emblem. I think some of my favorite Fire Emblem games are things like Three Houses and Engage, and I feel like with those, just about any unit is viable, especially when we're talking about normal mode. Like when I'm playing Conquest, I'm playing on normal mode, and there's still units that I feel like are not like able to keep up, or like take damage or deal damage when they need to. So when you're talking about normal difficulty, the other Fire Emblem games that I like, even when I did a playthrough of Sacred Stones, I mean that like I was able to use all of the characters that I wanted to, and I feel very restricted in both Fates games, because inevitably there are just some characters that end up dying, and I just have to deal with that because they like are just too weak to provide any like meaningful effort or whatever. And it's not like I can grind in Conquest, so that's an issue. So the main issue that I've had in Conquest, where I've sort of lost a lot of respect for the game, it really comes in a pair of chapters. Chapter 18 is the first one, where I had to play that chapter probably about 10 different times because I kept dying. And a lot of those were on me. Bad positioning, you know, putting the wrong unit at the wrong spot, not seeing an enemy at a certain spot, you know, is what it is. That's fine. But where I do hold something against the game is that there are these pair of like generals that are like guarding this like door or whatever, and you just have to beat all the enemies. And so they were literally like the last enemies on the board, and I threw literally my entire army at them, and none of them could do enough damage. None of them could take more than like 1 to 2 hits. I have everybody like, you know, they've changed classes, they've promoted classes, you know, everybody's like an advanced class. I'm not falling behind level wise. I mean, I don't know if you can fall behind level wise. I've been using like the same, you know, units over and over. Combined, I was able to kill one of the generals. However, the game decided that actually, even though there was nothing to tell me that I wouldn't, so the game basically, you know, it has the preview of you're going to kill this unit, whatever. And I sent in a unit that was going to get the final kill. I sent my whole team just to kill this one general, and the damage number was there, and it hit. But then it just the game decided actually it's not going to die because I don't know, the other one protected it or something. And I looked through both units to see if there's like a skill that could have told me about this, and no, I like maybe something popped up in like a previous chapter that mentioned that something like that could happen. But I feel like the game essentially lied to me. It told me that I was going to defeat an enemy, and then I did not defeat the enemy, and because I used all of my resources to get people into positions to where I would defeat the enemy, and then I didn't, that left me exposed, and it ended in the deaths of 2 of my characters that I either had to try again, which I didn't see a reason to try again, because the game I already gave my best attempt at taking out this general, where the game decided, no, it doesn't have to die this turn, and then it just kills me. And then, yeah, so, like, I don't know. I just felt lied to. So then, comes chapter 19, where, whatever, I gave it a day to be less mad. I go into chapter 19, and this one's less egregious, but, in chapter 19, you are, there's this village of, like, kitsune, like, fox people or whatever, and the game says that, on every turn, some of them can, like, make illusions. The illusions cannot be attacked and cannot attack you. That is what it says. So, there's a unit very close to you at the start. I go to attack it. I'm not able to attack it. So, I logically assume, okay, well, I can't attack it. This is the illusion. The game said that I can't attack the illusion, but it can't attack me. So, it had a little symbol, and I'm like, sure, maybe, like, it'll become not an illusion on, like, the turn after, and then maybe it'll get a chance to attack me. But it can't attack me this turn. So I just moved my units around, end my turn, and then the unit that was an illusion that I couldn't attack was able to attack me. So 2 chapters in a row, I feel like the game has directly lied to me, and I cannot trust the information that the game is telling me on screen. So when that happens, that makes me not really like the game very much. So that is why, specifically, Conquest has made me mad. But I do feel like some of the lack of unit flexibility, just sort of lack of anything. Like, Birthright at least has grinding. So there is that. I guess that you could argue could give you a little bit more unit flexibility. I just feel so pigeonholed and so forced to use like a very specific thing. Like I did some little online research just to be like, oh, am I the only one that struggles with chapter 18? Like, what's it, people like, oh, just buy a hammer. It's like, okay, so you need to have one specific weapon to take out one specific enemy that you have to be prepared for in advance. That's just not fun to me. I don't see that as fun. I understand that you shouldn't just be able to like steamroll everybody, but I feel like I have optimized my characters well enough to hold their own in a fight. They didn't have a problem taking out literally any other unit in the entire map. It just sucks. It just sucks, Like, call it a skill issue or whatever it is, but I just don't respect that the game actively lied to me as far as I can tell. And if it didn't, and the information was there, it did not display that very well. This is not an issue that I've had in other Fire Emblem games. So I'm kind of at a loss. I'm going to continue to play it. I am towards the end, and I am going to beat it just for the sake of beating it. That's more because I want to play and finish every Fire Emblem game more so than the fact that I'm enjoying it. But Fate's Conquest might legitimately be my least favorite Fire Emblem game. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it was going so strong, but it continues to just disappoint me by constantly lying to my face. So that's really fun. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that. I know Conquest is generally a pretty well-respected Fire Emblem game that people like. I don't know that I get it, but I think it's probably one of those games that once you know all of the tricks of the trade and you've played through it multiple times, it probably becomes more fun because the game isn't surprising you with bullshit. So, yeah. That's probably why it has such a good reputation. It's probably from people that just play it multiple times and are not surprised by what the game throws at them. I don't like the surprise factor in like a strategy game. But all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the new games. I will sort of talk a little bit about where I'm at. I'll move on to Lost Records Bloom and Rage. So like I said, I did start playing it. I gave it one final chance to impress me enough, or just hook me somewhere to want to play a little bit more. I am hooked to play a little bit more. I think I'm getting very close to the end of the first part. I have in the game, you start by reuniting with one of the girls, and there's a lot of like story reminiscing gameplay, stuff like that, and then a second girl you reunite with, and that is where I'm at now. So I don't know how long that section is. I don't know when it becomes the second half of the game. I feel like I will probably know, because as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure it's like it's split between tape 1 and tape 2, and I think for some reason I thought like one was supposed to be like Bloom and one's supposed to be Rage, but I think the whole thing might just be Bloom and Rage. But either way, it still says tape 1 when I like start the game up. So I think it'll be pretty clear when I'm in the second half, quote unquote. So I don't know if they're actually if they're like equal halves, like lengthwise or not. But that's where I'm at with that, and I'm interested enough to see what happens where this other person that I'm reuniting with, like what's been going on with her life, and just sort of what is going on. I don't know. I think it's good enough, and I'm interested to see a little bit more. And then I will touch on the 2 new games that I started this week. So I will start with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4. Yeah, I played, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2. Those were also games that I played in my childhood, the originals, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I never played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 or 4. It is, at least the remade version of it, is formatted the same, where you have like levels and you have missions to do, like high scores and high combos, and then there will be wacky stuff, usually like get the secret tape, collect the letters of Skate, and then just level specific things of just doing like accomplishing certain goals. And it's been fun. I think without the nostalgia, I don't know if it's as good as much as I liked Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2. I'm playing through the campaign, I guess, of 3 specifically right now, and I don't know if it's a level design thing. I don't know if it's just because I feel like I've played in terms of how the skater like controls. It's the exact same as like 1+2, and so I don't really feel like I'm getting anything new, and the new levels aren't super impressing me so far. And it's fine. I'm enjoying it. I like it. I will keep playing it. I don't know if I think I set my expectations just a little bit too high. But it's a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. If you played one, specifically the remake of 1 and 2, then you will know exactly what to expect going into this one. And if you played the original 3 or 4, I think I've heard they've done something different. Maybe that's specifically with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. I don't know, but I don't really have a frame of reference for that, so I'm assuming that both are just going to be a bunch of levels, you know, some missions. I was trying to do all the missions. I'm finding it harder to do all the missions, in terms of, like, there's certain things I can't figure out how to do. I haven't found the secret tape to literally anything so far. I don't know if I'm going to go through and really try to complete everything, or if I'm just going to kind of play through it and beat it and then call it a day. We'll see, but there's that. It's solid, and I will keep playing it. And then the last game that I'm going to talk about today is Shadow Labyrinth. Like I said, it is a sort of Metroidvania style game. You play as this, I don't know, person, and this spherical being called Puck is like guiding you, is like with you, is like showing you places. I don't really know. I don't pay attention to video game stories all that much. I just know that you're in like a weird place and you have Pac-Man ball sort of guiding you. Gameplay, when you are in your like person mode, it's very, very standard. Dodge, slash, you can attack up, down, left, right. That's basically it. No really like special attacks yet that I know of. And then there are sections of platforming where you essentially become like Pac-Man. You like ride on rails, and then you can jump from like wall to wall. So the movement is different. You can't really attack in that mode, but you can spin out of it to attack enemies or whatever. You know, it seems fun so far. It really just depends on how long the game goes on for. I think if it's not a terribly long game, it could be fun for the whole time, but I do find that it could be something that could drag on if it doesn't add enough new things. The combat is very bare bones and basic. It's not bad, but, you know, it doesn't really have anything special to set it apart. I don't know if bosses are going to be all that challenging, when the only things you can do are dodge and attack. There aren't even special attacks. There isn't like light and heavy attack as far as I remember. Not really much, which is fine. I think a lot of the game is just centered around the mystery, a little bit of the platforming, things like that. But yeah, so that's going to be to be determined in terms of how good it is, but it's definitely good enough for me to continue playing, and it's something that I do see myself beating if it's not like a terribly long game. So that's where I'm at with that. That is everything that I played this week. So even though I was, you know, little stretched for time with energy and hours to put into the games, that is everything I managed to do, which I think is pretty good. So we'll go ahead and, you know, preview the week ahead. The week ahead, I mean, I have the motivation. I'm getting more energy back each day in terms of the amount of time I can dedicate to playing games with the backlog. I am still doing my playthrough of Date Everything, so that does cut into some hours of the backlog games. Nothing super notable is happening over the next week. I do work literally every day, and that includes the weekend, so the day that you're seeing this and tomorrow. So on weekends that I work, that is definitely less time that I can put into games, but I am going to try to continue to do my best, prioritize some backlog games. I think Dante's Inferno is something I would really, really like to hone in on and beat over the next week if I can. I think I could probably do a pretty do like a burst of Tony Hawk Pro Skater playing, and I could see myself easily getting through like at least the like Pro Skater 3 and then maybe make it into Pro Skater 4, especially if I'm not trying to like 100% like every single level. I could see myself just sort of flying through that one if I so choose. I would like to make a little bit more. If I can get to the second half of Bloom and Rage, I think I would be satisfied there. And then if I can get a couple chapters done of Conquest, that would be nice. Anything on top of that is just going to be extra. So hopefully I can, really take this motivation and put it towards a lot of gaming hours. We'll see how it goes, but there's no notable events happening in the next week. I'll have to revisit any new games that might be coming out. I don't think there's anything coming up. I think I'm a little bit overloaded right now as it is. So any new games that come out might get pushed away regardless of whether I'm interested in them or not. So that is where we are at right now. Let me know any thoughts that you have about any of the opinions that I talked about today, because, I feel like they were something. maybe not the popular opinions, I'm not entirely sure. If you have any experiences that match or go against some of the experiences that I talked about, I'd love to hear about it. But I will be back as always, every week till the end of the year to recap more of this backlog journey. So yeah, if you have enjoyed it, let me know, and I will see you all around next week for week 31. So I will see you then. Goodbye.